Today we're joined by Nick and Ant, who are South African brothers who own Talk, which is a gym in the general. We're going to get into a lot of detail about their story of coming to Bristol, but also their incredible business. Welcome, guys. Can I just get you both to tell me how you ended up in Bristol?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start. So I moved to the UK for professional sport and landed up in Bristol. In the last 3 years of my playing career, I was in professional rugby union and then stayed on at Bristol Bears as the rugby operations manager and have been in Bristol ever since.
And Ant?
Obviously originally based in Cape Town. I was the company and we launched 3 gyms over there, and I thought to myself, I love this industry, I love the vibe, and if I'm ever going to make a change to come to the UK, I would do it when my kids were young. My wife is British. She's from the north of this country. And so we decided at the age, or when my daughter was 6 months old, that we were going to make that change, give it a crack. And our original thought process was to actually land up in London. That, unfortunately, in the beginning, the site that we're trying to acquisition had fallen through, and we had to make a split, literally by 3 days, make a decision on where we were going to go. My brother was based in Bristol at that time. He was getting a contract with Bristol Bears, and we just thought, if we're going to give it a go, let's go to Bristol. And that's how we landed. That's literally how we landed up here. And in hindsight, it's probably one of the biggest blessings we've had. Yeah. We feel like we're fully entrenched in the city now, and love it. Love the diversity, love the people, love the multiculturalness of it. So yeah, that's how we got over here.
Talk is a really particular gym. It's boutique. It offers a real sense of community. It's a sort of place where you can go with no expertise whatsoever, turn up, have somebody work with you very closely, and within a week you feel like you're a part of the family. What was the idea behind starting such a niche and incredible gym?
I think from my side in particular, I've always been interested in people. And I'm going to say this flat out. I'm not a desk job guy. I am on the floor. I like being involved with people. I like watching people grow. And I think the gym space is one of those where you can definitely see it firsthand, and in front of you. And I don't think this was huge for us, but it wasn't. We weren't looking for a type of person. We were looking to bring a product to every person.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if you were not a sporting athlete in your former years. We were trying to bring a place of good coaching, a great programming, small and personal, and we wanted to see the growth of people. And people do things that they hadn't ever imagined doing before.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it stemmed from. It stemmed from the love of people and a space where you feel supported, a space where you yourself create an accountability, where you can create some consistency in your training, but then like almost like a family environment, like you mentioned in the beginning. And I think that's where it sort of stemmed, and that's where our passion actually really lies.
Nick, you have a history, obviously, of fitness. How does that go from football into training people and starting a gym?
To touch on the point that Ant made, I think that I've always had, going into a professional environment, there's that classic thing of imposter syndrome, and you kind of find that in the gym environment too. There's this intimidation factor of wherever you want to go, wherever you go and train. And I think that even I think back to rugby days, going into like test week, and like how nervous I used to get for test week. I knew I was capable. I knew what my numbers were. I knew what I was going to hit, but I still had this nervousness of, do I belong here? Is that what I should be doing? And that feeling of just being intimidated. And actually, walking into gyms that aren't Talk, I still kind of get that feeling. Yeah. And I think that for me, personally, when I spoke to Ant about this, was creating this space that was psychologically safe. Because when you create, and I'm sure we've all heard of psychological safety, but if you create an environment which is psychologically safe for people where they don't have that intimidation factor or feeling of discomfort when they're walking in, the likelihood of their performance improving is quite significant.
Yeah.
The ability to come in and just be themselves and feel that level of comfort that they know they can perform to the best of their ability. Look, I'm not saying that with our training style that it's going to be comfortable training. That's not what it is. But I'm saying that personally within yourself, when you come in, you feel comfortable, you feel welcome. There's not this sort of expectation on you to be this type of person. And I think that is currently the narrative in the fitness industry at the moment, is that you have to be a certain way to train like this. You don't. And as Anne said, you know, it's about people. It's about taking someone who's never lifted a weight before in their lives or never run a kilometer in their lives, to getting them to do that, and then getting them to do something different, and then getting them to improve on those goals that they have, as opposed to thinking you have to be a certain way in order to be able to train like that. You don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's and touched on programming, but I think that's one of our biggest attributes, is being able to take our programming, take a step back and go, okay, well, John is coming to the gym today. He's never lifted a weight before. So let's coach him through the mechanics of a movement, so that he can progress to get to a point where he can do a back squat, or he can do a bench press, or he can do an overhead press, whatever it is. But then our programming still lends itself to those people who come in and have been lifting for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and still challenge them. So that's essentially, you know, the sentiment that I had when speaking to Ant about why we wanted to create this space and this environment. And I think that, you know, it comes down essentially to the people and the community.
I think you touched on a really important point there, and that is that when you go to a gym, it's all on you for the most part to track your progress, to look at it from a bird's eye view, and that can be really difficult, especially if you're new. But maybe even more importantly, if you're not new and you've hit a sort of plateau, but you think you know everything that you've learned over the years, a gym like yours tracks your personal progress, pushes you where you need to be pushed. And I think that's why you get such great results. Having been a member of the gym and seeing people's PBs go up, that's really encouraging. And obviously, when you're working alongside other people that are also working towards those same goals, that just helps build that community. I think that's really cool. And I definitely think that's part of what makes Talk individually unique, especially in the Bristol space, where gyms are typically very commercialised, they're very big, you get lost in the sea. And I was really encouraged by that. And you've also been involved in a lot of running, and you do a lot of fitness, and both of you obviously come from a really strong fitness background. I think that's also really encouraging, because you know what you're talking about because you've been through it yourself. What sort of services does Talk offer, and what will you offer in the future?
Jared, I think our sole focus is small group personal training. Small group personal training. Why? Because it surrounds you with people that have not exactly the same goals, but are moving in a similar direction. It's a small enough but big enough environment to have someone that might be slightly better than you that you want to reach, or someone that's maybe just behind you that you don't want them to catch you. So it's a safe, sort of competitive environment. And I think small group in the greatest aspect is to build both consistency and confidence in yourself. It's one of the key things I think that people come to us for at the same time, is they'll walk in and we'll have the consultation, we'll sit down and we'll say, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? What are your interests outside? And a lot of them is just confidence within the gym space. And I think that small group environment, not overpowered, not 20 people in a class, not 15 people in a class, not going by yourself to a gym and trying to go, oh, I'm going to couple, a press machine with a pull machine, or a squat with an overhead press. All that programming is done for you. It's up on the screen. You've got a dedicated coach to help you through it. So small group personal training is one of the big things that we offer. We do personal training as well, so that's one-to-one. That's where if you're really specifically goal oriented and you want to focus on, a big back squat or a big deadlift, and everything programs around that with a one-to-one coach. We're moving more into sort of an element of endurance space at the moment. We've got a couple of people that are running triathlons, a couple of people that are looking to do Ironmans or half Ironmans, which is also a really exciting new space. A lot of people are getting into the enduro side of things. We know how much sort of zone 2 training is having an impact on people's lives from a health perspective, but also from just a pure cardiovascular and endurance perspective as well. So it's a nice space that we want to start looking into right now. I think they couple each other unbelievably well. Your small group strength training builds that robustness and base for endurance training. And so those core key elements of small group PT and maybe the endurance space is where we really want to focus in on. And sort of extend that product outwards from there. Does that include nutrition? Yes, potentially in the future it does. Does that include recovery space, sauna, steam, ice bathing, stretch facilities, mobility facilities, all of that type of stuff? I think that's one area of training that people might not pay too much attention to is the actual recovery. Where do the muscles have a chance to grow and develop? Is actually in your off periods. So how do we incorporate that? So I think the services, once you've got that key core group of small group PT, a safe environment, a strong environment to train, PT, another strong environment, one-to-one, fully focused on the personal goals of the individual, and then endurance training, recovery training, and nutrition. If you can couple all of those together, you're sitting in a really good space for any individual, any everyday athlete. I'm talking anybody that's purely in business and just wants to better themselves. Those core areas is what we really want to focus in on going, well, now that we do focus on it, but also in the future.
I think, just to add to that, the reality is that people are only getting busier. It seems to me that we're always on, whether it be through work, whether it be through, childcare, whether it be through social, whatever it might be. There's always something. You're going to be connected in some way via a message or an email, and sometimes removing all the barriers to entry for someone just to be able to go to the gym and know that at the end of an 8-week block that they've achieved the goals that they've set out to achieve without having really to think about the programming that they need to get there. And I must say, I've used talk programming now for as long as I can remember. I mean, of course I would, but even I don't have to think about it. I can just go in, pick up the program and execute. And it's it doesn't matter what my goals are. If they change to be an endurance event, I know that I can flex my talk programming to achieve what I need to achieve to be able to run a marathon or to do an Ironman or whatever it might be. That's the beauty of it. If I wanted to go purely strength-based, I know that if I stick to that program, I need to do various little elements or change various little elements of it, which I can do with my coach in order to achieve my strength goals. If it's an endurance base, then I can pull back on some of my weightlifting in terms of that neural stress so that I can focus on the outputs that I want to get from endurance. I think that's the beauty of the program, is it lends itself to whatever your goal might be. And the way that the week is set up and the program is set up is that you can flex that to meet whatever it is the goal is that you want to achieve without really having to think about it too much, because you've got your coach on hand to be able to tell you, this is where you should focus your time and this is where you want to get your most benefit or adaptation from, which is a huge benefit. I think it's there to be able to remove that time stress of thinking about, okay, well, I need to do my own programming, and then I've got to get to the gym, and then I've got to go to work, and then take half of that out and just walk in the door and know that the program is going to be on the screen and that it's going to largely do what it needs to do to be able to meet your goals. And with a little bit of guidance from the coaches, we're gonna flex certain areas or focus on certain areas, and you're gonna see that sort of incremental improvement.
Increasingly, the scientific literature is pointing towards longevity having a lot to do with your cardiovascular fitness, cutting down on chances of getting diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, all the rest of it, which hasn't always been the consensus in the community. As you get older, as you age, you need to back off exercise because you're more frail, but actually cardio plus the strength to keep the density of your bones and your muscle mass, and keeping that into old age becomes more and more important. I think people are starting to understand that this is important, but we're not quite there yet. What do you think needs to happen throughout the community to push this message in a way that people can really digest it and understand?
First and foremost, I think remove anything to do with aesthetics. I think that aesthetics is centered around an age population, and it is between that age of 18 and 50 or whatever it might be. I think remove anything to do with aesthetics. I think that, yes, of course, everybody wants to look great and everybody wants to be able to wear the clothes that they want to wear or go to the beach and feel comfortable. But those are byproducts. You get there with that. I think the importance, and you've hit the nail on the head, is that longevity piece. So weightlifting is not just a 6-month transformation program to get you to look good for summer. Endurance is not just a 6-month program to get you to hit 10,000 steps every day. Like, these things need to become habitual over time, and a daily part of, or daily routine, or part of your routine, or weekly routine, whatever it is, to be able to see that the benefits long term. And I think that, benefits realization is a real thing, but we don't see, as human beings, because it's not a tangible in front of our eyes benefit that we see right now. We don't have the ability to look into the future and say, that what I did 20 years ago is benefiting me now as a parent or a grandparent or whatever it might be. So that's the real difficulty. The other difficulty is that we're a society that is geared to cure over prevention. So nowadays, if something's wrong, where do you go? And it's why you see the NHS under severe pressure. It's why doctors are under severe pressure and are constantly booked up, is because I can get what I need to make myself feel better in a week, as opposed to going, if I get my habits right over the long term now, I won't need that service. And therefore I'll be healthier, happier, fitter, being able to do what I do without having to go get a magic pill to make me feel better. We've seen the rise of weight loss injections. Who knows what effect that's going to have in the population in 10, 15, 20 years' time. But I can guarantee you that there will be, if something's not done about it, increase in osteoporosis, because you just lose muscle density and muscle mass. Broken hips, fractures, those types of things, which may become epidemic in itself, and that the older generation are going to need more surgeries and more care in that, frail care in that sense. So I think, we bang on about it, and there are those people who talk about the benefits of strength training and cardiovascular training, but until such a time as it becomes a non-Instagrammable phase where it's all about how I look and what I can do, and becomes more about, or actually what I can do is a good part of it, is because those are the types of goals we want people to have, but it's more about being able to showcase what the future looks like by doing the things that are hard now and getting those habits right that take you further into the future in terms of your longevity and being able to do the things that you want to do.
Can I just add to that? And I'm massively passionate about this particular point, and it gives me goosebumps to talk about this type of stuff. When we become a population that realizes we have one vessel. That vessel is our body. That is it, right? There's no other. We don't get second chances. When we decide and we understand that that's the one opportunity we have to look after this thing by what we put in it, what we do from a nutrition or training perspective, and that we realize, I think a lot of the time, as my brother said, it's not about aesthetic feel, what you look like. It's what you feel inside, literally. And that might sound a little bit cliched, but it is. How do you actually feel? Do you come out of that session feeling great, feeling good? If you walk into the gym on an occasion and you've blasted yourself 3 days in a row, do you need to do that for your 4th day? Or could you sit in a machine and just sit in zone 2 for 40 minutes and just let stress relieve the body? Just no tension, no impact on the body at that point. When we get to that point, when we can realize that our bodies are a vessel to take us anywhere over the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and what we put in from a nutritional perspective, what we put in from a recovery perspective, what we put in from a cardiovascular perspective, what we put in from a strength training perspective, if we can hit those nails correctly and in the right way, and we are showed how to, not just left with our own devices in a gym, crack on, mate, go on, go, crack on, do it by yourself. If you can be showed a decent path or a very good path, and we can create some consistency through that, you're going to see the benefits. It's impossible not to grow your character through something like that. And I am hugely passionate. I had a clear-cut case this morning. I saw her walk into the gym, no names mentioned. She walked into the gym this morning. She said to me, I've had a horrific weekend with my dog. He's been in hospital. She said, my body is stressed. Can I? And I said, get on that bike, do 40 minutes, put your RPM up to 85 to 90 RPM, spin your legs out. She came after me. She just said, thank you. I feel $1 million. It's because we need to be able to recognize these things in people. We need, as coaches, they might not see it. But if I see somebody walk in with a low head, I need to be able to recognize that 100 kg squat today is not an option for that person. Let's really drop it back to like 50. Let's hit 12 repetitions, low key and controlled. All right? Or we get on a bike and we just spin the legs. But we need to be able to watch these things in our bodies. We need coaches to be able to help us identify these areas. And if we can, again, say to ourselves that it's not just needs to be that aesthetic appeal. It needs to be what we feel. How do we feel on the day? That's key.
I think personal training in general has become a little bit reductionist in that it's all about just you do this because you're going to get the body you want or whatever. And you both spelt it out perfectly. So what are some of the struggles that you find people are having to make that initial step, and how long does it take to actually make it a habit?
For me personally, I think there are a number of things. I think that we're in a tricky time from a cost of living aspect, which doesn't help at all. And it's something that I alluded to previously, is that that doesn't help the habit stacking and getting to a position where you constantly make exercise and weightlifting and endurance part of your everyday week, because you know that you can go and get the cure if you need it. So therefore, it doesn't become a something that I need now, and then that's the first cost that I cut, or it's the first thing that I don't look to do, is I'll remove my gym membership, or I'll remove my my gym membership. So that's tricky. That's a battle that I think most gym owners would feel at the moment. I think secondly is finding the right environment. I think that is hard. Instagram, with the vehicle that it's become, only tells a part of the story, which is really difficult to replicate over a number of posts. You don't live that everyday community feel through Instagram. You can get a snippet of it, but until you walk through the door and you spend a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks understanding the community and the environment and actually leaning into it, you may not see that benefit from the outside. So really creating that for us through our front of house on our website or through our Instagram page can be challenging. And that's challenging for someone to go, okay, well, that's the place that I want to go and train. So how we do that and leverage what we do and our USP to be able to recreate that is hard. And it's difficult to reach those people because the narrative of the space is you have to be X to do Y.
Yeah.
And I think that's a massive blocker for people. I think I get the report of the health and well-being or fitness industry report through, I think it's Statista or something, and it's something like in the region of 19 or 18 million gym memberships sold in the UK. And of course, obviously, then you've got the people who don't use gyms and endurance train. But of the population, we've got something in the region of 38 million people between the ages of 18 or 16 and I think it's 55 or 60. I'm not 100% certain. Don't quote me on that. But there's a market an addressable market of 18 million people who don't exercise. You only have to look at the stats around increase in diabetes, cardiovascular related illnesses, to know that there's a huge population of people who are not exercising, who may know that they need to, but don't have that psychological safety to find the right place to be able to do it, and don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And I think that for them is a huge blocker. How do you remove those barriers to entry to make it a place that they feel comfortable to go in and do the work that they need to do?
Yeah.
I'm just going to add a little bit to that as well, and I might sound a little bit controversial here, but I feel the world that we're currently living in a little bit is showcasing everything that is convenient. And we're getting into that mindset where convenience has become a thing. We can order groceries to our door nowadays instead of walking out and doing our shopping.
Yeah.
When you get into a mindset or a feel of let's just make it a little bit more convenient for myself, a little bit more convenient. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that our lifestyles are not overloaded at the moment. They are, 100% they are. But when you're putting your health and wellness into a convenience category and not putting it into a category where I actually need to do this for health and well-being, then this is where we need to change our mindset and narrative. And don't get me wrong, I'm not for 1 second saying that our lives are busy. They are busy. They're very busy. But it becomes a point where everything that does become convenient gets more and more convenient. And all of a sudden I'm not leaving a couch. My work is from home. I order my groceries to home. I might go out for a little walk. My 10,000 steps have dropped because I don't need to move from my office, which is in my... So I think convenience, the word convenience, and the way that the world is moving with regards to convenience is changing people's mindset a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And that's, I think we need to try and build that back up a little bit.
What I found with Talk, and the reason I initially joined was because I was working very inconsistent hours. I was getting really terrible sleep, and I kept putting off going to the gym just week after week, which is uncharacteristic because I've always gone to the gym. And so I needed something that I was certain was going to bridge that lack in my motivation. And so I can testify to the fact that going into a place, booking in a class as well, I think there's something about that as well when you've committed to doing it mentally, but then you just wake up, you don't need to think about anything, you just need to turn up. And so that it just removes all of that self motivation that you need initially. And then when it becomes a habit, it's so much, you don't even think about it, you just turn up, it's all fun. I think that's something that people really need to understand. It doesn't stay difficult forever. It's only that first little bit, and the more you can do to invest in yourself to take away that initial burden of motivation on yourself, the better it's going to be for you. That's why I think Talk is unique in that aspect. It's got a fantastic community, people that are incredibly welcoming, and as you touched on, Ant, the competitiveness, it's a very friendly competitiveness. But I remember on Saturdays, you'll break everybody into two teams, and everybody's got to try and get the most
distance or reps or whatever.
Exactly. So I can't sing the praises enough of Talk.
Thanks,
and
Jared.
I'm really excited to see the steps that you're going to take in the future and the impact it's going to have on the community. Just on a personal note, you're obviously both very driven people. It looks like that's just who you've always been, but has that been the case?
I'm going to start on this one, and this is where I'm going to say we complement each other quite well. He's a very different mindset to what my mindset is, right? Don't get me wrong, we've had our tiffs through this build.
Yeah.
I am driven, but I'm driven in what I know.
Yeah.
I am comfortable in what I know. And then I'll bring something to him and he'll be like, nah, we can't look at it this way or that way. And he'll give me a completely different perspective on how I should look at it. So that drives me to look at it from a different direction. And I think that gives me purpose in a way. I sometimes get super despondent. I'm in there, I'm like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why am I not getting answer? Why can't I find this answer? And I'll squeeze him a quick WhatsApp message. Not ideal, but I squeeze him a quick WhatsApp message. And he'll say, think about it from this aspect. Or can you ever look at, and he'll list me. I mean, he can write a WhatsApp message. Let me tell you that. It is savage. And I've got to go through these points, right? But at the end of it, it gives me clarity and it gives me a boost. Where at the end, I've probably got a one-word answer going, right, let's do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's my motivation. That's what gets me in the gym. I know what to do. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
I've got people, but then I get a certain situation and a path that I need to have a look at that I don't know the answers to. And I get all wound up or I get anxious about it. Yes, I've got coaches around me. My coaches are similar to me, aren't they? We're in the same industry. So he's a great outside source to motivate me in a different way.
Yeah.
I think that is exactly what motivates me to go to the next place and to the next place and to the next place. I might know enough on the floor, or I might know a good amount on the floor, never enough, because you can always learn.
Yeah.
I think his perspective on the way he looks at things is very different to mine, and I need that. Yeah. I actually bloody need that sometimes. Yeah. It's like, hold up, you want to do 1,000,001 things, but can we execute this, and this before we do that? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now that I've looked at this, yes, better to execute this, and this before we move on to phase 2 or phase 3. Or have you looked at this, and this before we move on?
Yeah.
So from a motivational perspective, he does it for me within business. On the floor, it's watching people grow again. That is my drive. It's like somebody that goes from not having lifted a deadlift to smacking 100 kg deadlift up in a 3-month period or 4-month period. I'm like, and they're pumping or fist pumping the air. And you're talking about someone that has never lifted weight in their entire lives. We started out with a kettlebell deadlift or a double dumbbell deadlift, and we moved on to a fixed bar deadlift or a hex bar deadlift. And now they're up to 100 kilograms. And to see that glee and that passion and that drive in their face, there is literally no better feeling.
Yeah.
So I think from my perspective, that's where my drive comes from. And then obviously, I'm going to say this because it is, but my girls are my family.
Yeah.
I've got 2 daughters. I want to stay fit. I want to stay strong for them and for my wife.
Yeah.
It's an important aspect. And if you're not going to have that as a role to play, look at it, because they are huge motivational factors in your life. They always will be. So immediate family, my girls, my wife, and the people on the floor are my motivational aspects for this and the growth of this product.
I mean, I fully agree with that, and I echo the sentiments around family. I mean, Sky, my wife, brought me to Bristol for the first time, and I was like, that's where we need to be. And so we did everything we could to get here, and it's been an amazing journey. Loved every second of Bristol, the community. I think Ant touched on some of the aspects of Bristol that just makes it unique and special. The other things, obviously, that keep me motivated around it is, obviously, I've wanted a space to be able to train in, that's a safe environment. But again, where do I want to be in 10, 15, 20 years' time? How do I want to feel? How's that going to look for my family? From a business perspective, Ant knows, and I'll tell him unconditionally, he is the expert on the floor, in the gym. He has got that, his experience is there, and he's a fantastic coach and brilliant at what he does and what his craft is. And I think sometimes he undersells himself in terms of his ability in that space, and mine's sort of more around the business aspect of things. So as he said, we bounce really well off each other in terms of that understanding and where our expertise lie in the journey of talk. I mean, the other thing is, and we can't let this part go, but we have been so competitive as people for the longest time. So why not just bring that energy together
Yeah.
and create something that we've touched on the people aspect a lot, but I feel there is literally nothing better than being able to coach someone to be a better version of themselves or to achieve something more than we could do. Or, you know, people, if you've got a body, you're an athlete. You are capable of being an athlete. Like, it's just how we harness that and be able to get them to see that and then see the journey and then achieve the things that they want to achieve. So pulling all those aspects together into this nucleus of what talk training is like, I mean, it's been such a rewarding journey. It's been hard, it's been difficult, and it's going to continue to be that. But I think the reward that you get from what Ant alluded to around someone smashing a 100 kg deadlift or running a half marathon or doing an Ironman or whatever it might be, like seeing them achieve that when prior to joining talk they may never have been able to think about doing something like that, is one of the most rewarding things that you can see, is just seeing the growth of people in general. I think you underestimate what that gives us. Not you, but I think people underestimate what that gives us.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly rewarding and satisfying feeling, and I think that is what drives, a lot of my motivation, is being able to see the enjoyment that people get out of coming to talk and achieving the things that they thought they could never do.
In your space, you need to have a unique blend of confidence and humility to be successful. Confidence, because if you don't push yourself forward and support yourself, nothing will take off the ground. And at the same time, you need that humility to constantly, like you were saying, I know where my faults are and I know where to go to get objective advice.
It's a big thing for me to say, by the way, because I don't like admitting my faults. I don't like admitting my faults at all.
So throughout the journey, what would you say has been the most influential piece of advice that you've been given, or lesson that you've learned?
I think probably one of the biggest things I've learned in the 8 years is you're not going to get it right straight away.
Yeah.
It's you can have a mentor, you can have mentors, you can have worked in the gym space, you can have worked with the best coaches in the world, you could have been on the best courses in the world. And no matter what you do, not everything is going to work perfectly from the word go. It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes a build. It takes bouncing ideas off people. It takes getting things wrong. It takes messing it up and correcting it. And I think one of the biggest, I don't even know if it was advice or just the way we decided to attack things. We went through COVID. We went through inflation and financial crisis. We've been through it. And we didn't get things right in the beginning. We'll put our hands up and say we didn't get things right. But it was the determination, and it still is, the determination to be one of the best gyms out there and provide a space for people to grow, develop, find new parts of themselves, new characteristics of themselves, new drives, new motivations. We will still get things wrong. We will still get things wrong tomorrow and the next week and so on. But if we can work through them together as a team, as a partnership, grow the group of people, our coaches and the people around us, learn from our mistakes, and don't give up. Just don't give up. Take a step back if you need to. Not every single answer is 3 steps forward. Sometimes your answer is in a different direction or backwards.
Yeah.
And it's taking a look inside sometimes and going, do you know what? We messed that one up.
Yeah.
How do we correct it? What can we do better? How do we do it better?
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the biggest lessons. You're not going to get it right. You're not going to get everything right. Things are going to get challenging. Things are going to get tough. We've had 8 years. We want another 20 to 30 to 40 years still in this business, still in this industry, still messing up, but still making it better.
Yeah.
Cool. And I think that was one of the key things that I definitely learned. I am very much, I want it done now.
Yeah.
And I want it done right now.
Yeah.
And that's again where he pulls me back a little bit. He's like, you are bells and whistles. You just go screaming into things. And I tend to do that. I think over these 8 years, I've maybe not got better, but I'm improving.
Yeah.
I'm improving on it. And And I think that's probably one of the key things I learned in the first stage of this business. And I think was the key things that we said to each other was, we are going to mess up. We're going to mess up. We're going to make mistakes. But let's find answers. Let's not just let those mistakes sit and lie. Let's find the answers. How do we correct this? How do we be better? How to be better in this aspect or that aspect? And that was probably one of the biggest things I've learned.
I mean, there are elements like Ant kept me very honest in terms of what capacity we have in various aspects of the gym. And it's, you know, I'm exactly the same. I can be quite demanding in terms of what my expectations are. And sometimes I need him to point that out. I've got blind spots. Everybody's got blind spots, but sometimes you don't see them. Mm-hmm. And I forget that, you know, outside of talk, I work in an environment where I can very readily get the information or get a task done because of the access to resource that I've got. When you're starting up a business, you don't necessarily have that access to resource, and you've got to appreciate the time that we have between all of us to achieve the things that we want to achieve. I think the biggest thing that I've learned through this journey is, how do you keep the people who buy into your vision? Mm-hmm. Not everybody's going to buy into your vision. Not everybody's going to agree with the way that you do things, and that's absolutely fine. Like, we can all learn from those people, and we can all learn from people who come into the gym with different ideas. I think being able to harness those ideas and those opinions that fit into the overall strategy and the vision of where the gym's going is critical. But being open-minded that, you know, your vision and being confident enough to know that your vision is your vision and that's where you want to take the business and that's what you've built it on. But appreciating that in some aspects things could be done differently, or opening the floor to people who are bought in to say, okay, you know, what can we do here? What can we add? Where can we increase value for our members? And I think that's crucial. I think no matter what, regardless of, you know, the AI and the way that that's going to improve our efficiencies and all those types of things, people are always going to be at the center of communities. Sure. And I think being able to leverage feedback and key data points and opinions and bring that together under one roof and say, okay, maybe this is what we need to start looking at. Like, that skill and ability is critical, while keeping the North Star as the North Star, and that's the vision, and that's where we're going. Are you on the journey with us? And keeping those people on that journey, and how do you keep them motivated too? You know, like it's a very competitive market out there. So fundamentally we're in a people-oriented business. How do we leverage technology to support us and allow those people to lean into a sort of more strategic role and be part of that sort of achieving the vision? You're never going to achieve your vision, but it's always going to be there to strive you to be better and get better and do things better.
That's crucial.
Critical.
So where can people find you?
The General. We are Lower Guinea Street, the General, the old General Hospital in Bristol. It's a beautiful old building, stunning old building. We're inside that. We're at Unit 7, Talk Training. Find us on socials at @talktraining_Bristol. You can find us on Facebook. Find our website, www.talktraining.co.uk. And just get hold of me. Find me wherever I am. I want to talk. I want to speak to you guys. I want to see where you want to go. And just get hold of us. Come see what we do. As you mentioned earlier on in this podcast, one of the first things that you wanted to do with your training was just put your foot through a door. And that's what we say in every consultation. Just put your foot through the door. Let us do the rest for you. Let's get you on your journey. Let's start something that you wouldn't believe you've started, and you know, reach places that you wouldn't believe you've reached. So that's us in short.
I would encourage anybody that is looking for somewhere tailored specifically to them, that is part of a community and that is very goals and health focused, to check out Talk Training. And thank you so much for coming, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Jared. That was
fantastic.
Really good. Thank you so much.
Cheers.